Welcome to the Manga Buyer's Guide for April of 2023. Come along with me as we take a look at some of the exciting new releases that are coming out throughout the rest of this month. So I'm a little bit late getting this video out, and I apologize. There are a few good reasons for it. Number one, I spent the entirety of the last week of March putting out my updated Junji Ito guide, so if you haven't seen that one, definitely check it out. I put a ton of work into it. It is a very cool video, very comprehensive, going over every Ito book that we have in English thus far, and everything that we don't yet have in English, so you can have kind of an idea of what's to come in the future. Then, immediately thereafter, I flew out to Chicago, where I got to spend some time with some friends and make some new friends at C2E2. It was a great convention, and I had a great time. And I did buy a lot of cool stuff that I will show in my March haul video that should be coming out pretty quickly after this one. Then, after that, when I got back, basically I was tired, and I needed to catch up on some real-world stuff before I could make this video, but I was waiting on Yen Press to send me all of their new releases, as they tend to do every month. Thank you so much, Yen Press, and I'm very glad that I waited, because this month's Yen Press releases are fantastic, and I cannot wait to talk to you about why they're so great. There's one new release here that I'm going to talk about that is one of the best first volumes that I've read in a while, and I very highly recommend it. So we'll get to those pretty soon, but first, as always with these Buyer's Guide videos, I want to make a couple of notes. Number one, I'm talking not about every new release that comes out, but I'm talking about what I consider to be the notable new releases this month. What I consider to be notable or important new releases are new volume 1s, new final volumes, new single volume releases, box sets, special editions, that kind of stuff. Not just the new volume of the popular shonen title that we all know that volume's coming out, it's not a big deal. I'm not talking about the things that I'm excited about. I'm talking about all of these things because the point of these videos is to help you as a reader to make informed purchases on these things and find things that you might have not otherwise known about. There are so many new titles that come out every month that I don't know about, and I know that a lot of people are just completely unaware of, and it's cool to make these videos because I get to learn about all these things, I get to try out some new things that I didn't know about, and I get to talk about them with y'all as well. So the next thing I want to mention is release dates. I'm giving you the official release dates. A lot of these are available early. That happens every single month, and some of these might get delayed. That happens pretty much every month as well. And finally, if you are on Twitter, please follow me over at Omni Collector. I'm active over there. Like, if I'm not posting, I'm at least reading, and it's the best way to like communicate with me. But follow me over there, and if you buy anything, because I mentioned it in this video, something that you wouldn't have picked up otherwise, please tag me when you get the book. Take a picture of the book, tag me, tag the publisher. It lets them know that I'm out here doing this work to try and make sure that people know about the books that they're publishing. That's why I have this opportunity to get these books, these review copies early from Yen Press. It's awesome. So thank you so much for everyone for supporting me in that way. So I have those opportunities, and let's go ahead and jump on into the new releases for April, starting at the beginning of the month, actually starting at the last day of March, because I missed one in my March video, and that is Otohime Diver from Vast Visual. And apparently this is not the first, but the third release from Vast Visual, and I missed the previous two releases from them. But it is a very beautiful release, and so I apologize to Vast Visual for missing their previous books, but at the very least, we're going to look at Otohime Diver. This was released on the 31st of March, and it is the first volume in I believe it's an ongoing series. I couldn't find a ton of information about it. I think it's still going in Japan, about a world that is almost completely flooded. It's almost completely below the ocean. And we follow a group of teenage girls, specifically one named Tatsumiya Minato, who wants to become a student at Enoshima Women's Ocean Academy, which is a normal school. It's a normal women's school, but because of the nature of the world, it's also a diving school. This book has absolutely stunning artwork on the inside. There's just so much beauty. Like, I'm gonna be honest, there is a decent amount of like fan servicey type stuff in here as well. Because it is about girls in bathing suits throughout the book. But do not let that detract you from, like, go look up the artwork, go look up a preview. It is absolutely beautifully illustrated, and it's a huge volume too. The price matches at $30, but it's a huge volume on really nice stock paper, dust jacket, all of that stuff. Really, really great production value on these books, and beautiful artwork. So check out Otohime Diver, and I'll make sure from this point onward other Vast Visual books, I'm not going to miss out on those. So I apologize to y'all at Vast Visual for missing this one. Anyway, moving on to the 4th of April, the official first week of releases, we start out with Gunhild Volume 1. This was a new one from Quarto, under their Saturday AM line, which is a bunch of manga-inspired graphic novels. I talked about one of their releases, I think, last month. They got a lot of really cool stuff coming out from creators from across the globe. This one follows a fire Jotun named Gunhild, who dreams of becoming a real-life god, and on her quest she meets gods of legend like Thor, Odin, and Loki, whom she will learn from in order to work towards that title of godhood. Then we got from Seven Seas, Cinderella Closet. This one follows Haruka, a plain country girl who's gone to Tokyo for college, where she falls in love with a co-worker, Kurotaki, at her part-time job. With the help of a new fashionista friend named Hikaru, she tries to win over Kurotaki, but there may be more to Hikaru than meets the eye. That last part I put in quotes because it's a direct quote from the back of the book itself. This one had 8 volumes in total, so it's not a huge commitment if you want to check this one out. Then, from also Seven Seas, in the Ghost Ship line, we have Please Go Home, Miss Akutsu. I got a lot of new books that I literally just got today, so I haven't checked them out. This is one of those. This one is about a quiet kid named Oyama who tends to keep to himself, but one day the delinquent Akutsu Riko shows up at his apartment, claiming it as her new hangout spot. She's both gorgeous and scary, but could she actually like Oyama? We'll have to read on and find out. I got this one mainly because I like delinquent manga, like whether it be delinquent girls or delinquent boys, and this one has a delinquent girl, so I figured I'd check it out. I'll talk about it in my haul video for April, so next month, and let y'all know thoughts if I enjoyed Please Go Home, Miss Akutsu. Then we have from Kodansha, another new one here, Quality Assurance in Another World. This one I believe has an anime adaptation currently airing, or that recently aired. I don't know anything about it. I didn't watch the anime, but the first volume looks fun. I figured I'd go ahead and try it out. Again, this is one that I just got, so I haven't gotten to read it yet. This one has a society known as Seekers who exist to debug situations that threaten an otherwise peaceful world. A village girl named Nicola finds that maybe her life is nothing like what she thought it was. I'll report back on that one as well during my April haul video. Then the final one from the first week is Tista from Biz's Shonen Jump line. This one comes from Tatsuya Endo, who of course is the creator of Spy Family. So if you're a fan of Spy Family, you might want to check this one out, but it doesn't have the same like wholesome vibe as Spy Family. It's actually quite a bit more mature. It's about a fictional version of New York where an assassin called Sister Militia is taking out mobsters and mob bosses one by one, and nobody knows who Sister Militia actually is except for a select few from a Catholic orphanage who know that Sister Militia is actually a university student named Tista. I really enjoyed the first volume. Great artwork that you would expect from Tatsuya Endo, but also a really interesting idea. And I think it's only 2 volumes, so not a commitment at all. Now, moving on to the second week, we go to the 11th. And first up from Tokyo Pop, we have Sengoku Yoko. This one is by the same creator as Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, Spirit Circle, and World End Solte. So if you're a fan of Mizukami's other works, Satoshi Mizukami's other works, then you might want to pick this one up. This is, I believe, one of their earlier titles. I'm not absolutely sure. I know it's earlier. It's not the first, though, but I know it's an earlier one. Maybe after Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. 17 volumes long, so longer than most of the other stuff that Mizukami has done. 17 volumes long, meaning it's also going to be one of the longer titles that Tokyo Pop is publishing recently, because most of the stuff that they do is like 1 volume or short stuff. So anyway, 17 volumes long, just so you all know going into this one, but it is a supernatural adventure series set in a world that divides humans and monsters called Katawara. A Katawara named Tama loved humans and will protect them even if it means fighting her own kind. Meanwhile, her stepbrother Jinka hates humans, even though he is mostly a human himself. The two are joined by a swordsman named Shinsuke, and together the 3 uncover a plot to experiment on humans and transform them into monsters. Next up, also from Tokyopop, we have Snow Fairy. It's a BL series about a wildlife photographer, Narumi, who's stuck in a snowstorm in Hokkaido and begins staying at local farmer Haruki's house for the winter. The two are polar opposites, but they can learn a lot from each other. In particular, Haruki shows interest in photography, so Narumi begins to teach him and winds up becoming the sole subject of his new hobby. The two wind up growing closer together over winter, but what will happen when the snow thaws in the spring? You'll have to read on to find out. And another Tokyopop release, my coworker has a secret. Kari is a closet otaku obsessed with an idol called Ren Ren. She keeps this fact hidden from all of her coworkers, but after a fateful meet-cute, she reveals the secret to a stranger who kindly had offered her a meal after her lunch was stolen by a pigeon. To her surprise, that stranger shows up as her office as a new employee. Will he keep Akari's secret from their coworkers? Read on to find out. I can say that about every book. I don't know why I'm saying that, but it's an easy way to wrap up and move to the next title. In this case, the next title being The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Volume 11, the final volume of the longest Zelda adaptation. I believe it's the longest. I know it's the longest one that we have in English. And it is my second favorite Zelda adaptation manga, right after the Shotaro Ishinomori adaptation of the Link to the Past, which is, it's very hard to beat because that one is fantastic. It's hard to beat Ishinomori. Anyway, 11 volumes were spent on adapting Twilight Princess, meaning that this one has a lot more character, a lot more depth than any of those other like single volume adaptations, or like the 2-volume adaptation of Ocarina of Time. You actually get more than just like Link running through a dungeon and then coming out the other side and doing what he needs to do and then fighting Ganon at the end. You actually get to see a decent amount of plot development, character, him interacting with various characters from throughout the series. It's a really great adaptation. If you're a fan of The Legend of Zelda, I highly recommend it. And it's by the same creator, Akira Himekawa, as all the other adaptations. So if you enjoy those, you should enjoy this one as well. If you're not a fan of Zelda, I don't think it's going to really win anyone over as something fantastic, but for Zelda fans, this one is great. Then, also from Viz, we have from the Shonen Jump line, The Hunters Guild Red Hood Volume 3. This is the final volume of this short title that was canceled in the Weekly Shonen Jump magazine somewhat recently. I've mentioned it before, but basically, stuff like this happens. Like, Viz publishes physical editions of these canceled titles because they see the popularity of these titles from the app with the Western audiences, with the English-speaking audiences. And when they see that people, the English-speaking audiences like something, that there's a lot of hits, a lot of reads on a series like this, they're gonna take their chance and publish a physical version because they know that they can get some money off of it. And I know there's a lot of people that were really excited to see the physical edition of this come out, even though it was canceled after 3 volumes. So, that said, moving on, next up from Seven Seas, we have My New Life as a Cat. This one is a series about a high school student who's killed in a traffic accident and winds up in the body of a cat. As he tries to survive in his new body, he's taken in by Chica, a cute girl that's his age, who begins to take care of him. Will he begin to develop feelings for her? Will he ever get his human body back? Gonna have to read along to find out. And then finally, on the 11th, we have There's No Freaking Way I'll Be Your Lover Unless... from Seven Seas GL line. This one follows Renako, who is an outcast in middle school, and so she vows to reinvent herself as a cool kid in high school. She finds a new best friend in Mai after struggling under the pressures to keep up those appearances as the cool new kid. But unexpectedly, Mai winds up confessing that she loves Renako, and their friendship flies out the window. So will they stay friends, or will they become lovers? Read along to find out. Next up, we move over to the 18th, the third week, and we've got a good amount of stuff, and this is where all the stuff from Yen Press comes into play, and we're starting off hot with, by far, bar none, the best of the new releases from Yen Press this month, and this is The Witch and the Night Will Survive. This is absolutely phenomenal. I have not enjoyed a first volume of a series this much in a long time. If you're a fan of fantasy manga, this is one to pick up. It has gorgeous artwork and a very intriguing plot line. Basically, there's a knight who was gone on a hunt, and he comes back to find that his entire village is devoid of life. He finds that the people were killed by a curse that he blames on a witch in the nearby Forbidden Forest. He goes to the forest to seek out the witch, and when he finds her, she starts begging him to not hurt her, to not kill her, and she tells him that she wasn't the one that did this. Instead, it was a curse from the forest itself. And now the two must set off in a quest to find the truth behind this situation. It is so beautifully illustrated. Look up some of the interior artwork. It is just absolutely gorgeous. If you're a fantasy manga fan, pick this one up. I loved it. This first volume was so good. I cannot wait to read more. Moving on, we then have What's Wrong with Secretary Kim. This is a manhwa, of course, a workplace romantic comedy. You might be familiar with it from the K-drama. It was originally a novel. This one follows a vice chairman of one of Korea's top companies, Young-Jun Lee. And Young-Jun Lee, he's young, he's handsome, he's rich, he's intelligent, and he's joined by his secretary, Miso Kim. And Miso Kim is incredibly capable. She is just absolutely amazing at her job. And then one day, Kim says that she's quitting. And Young-Jun Lee is very upset by this. And so he decides that he needs to keep her aboard. He needs to find a way to keep her at this job because she's been by his side for 9 years. And he finds that while he starts saying that he wants to keep her because he doesn't want to go through the difficulty of finding a new secretary, eventually he sees that maybe he has some different feelings for Kim. Moving on, next we have Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. I'm holding this one upside down. This is the seinen manga adaptation of the light novel that the anime adaptation is based on. There's also a 2-volume shoujo adaptation out there. So there's a lot of Sugar Apple Fairy Tale out there. This one takes place, it's a fantasy, takes place in a world where humans and fairies do not have the best relationship. Humans buy and sell fairies and stuff. And there's a young woman who's the focus of this series, and she is about to head off on a quest on this long journey. And so she needs a bodyguard to protect her, and she winds up purchasing a fairy. And she tells the fairy that if he protects her on this quest and they make it to the other side, that she will give him his freedom. And he's not super crazy about helping her out, but along the way, you know, he warms up a little, starts helping her. I really enjoyed this first volume. I don't know how far it goes in comparison to like the anime or anything like that, but I really enjoyed the first volume. I read through the whole thing in one sitting. Usually when Yen sends me new books, I'll read like the first couple chapters just to get an idea of it and then make this video, and then I'll go back after the video and finish it. This one I had to read all in one sitting. It was great. Then we've got K-On! Shuffle Volume 1. If you are a fan of the original K-On!, you will enjoy K-On! Shuffle because it's basically more of the same. More 4-koma about a new group of 4 girls who make a new band at a new school who was inspired by the original girls from the original K-On! So again, if you like K-On!, you'll enjoy K-On! Shuffle. Make sure to pick it up. Next up from Yen, we have Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in the Dungeon? Familia Chronicle episode Freya. I'm completely unfamiliar with this franchise. I've never seen or read any of Danmachi before, so unfortunately I can't really give a fair idea about this series. I read the first chapter. I don't know what was going on. I'm not familiar with these characters. Artwork was good, but if you are a fan of Danmachi, I'm sure that this is one that you're going to want to pick up. So that one is coming out on the 18th. And then finally from Yen Press, we have Sunbeams in the Sky. This is it's a 3-volume shonen rom-com from G Fantasy. G Fantasy is a shonen magazine that has series like Black Butler and Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, Pandora Hearts, and a lot of the series are commonly mistaken for shoujo because they don't have a lot of the same tropes and stuff as most shonen manga do, but they are in fact shonen, and this is a shonen rom-com. So a lot of those series wind up, you know, appealing to the the shoujo demographics as much or sometimes more than they do to the shonen demographics. And in that case, I wanted to mention that because if you are a fan of shoujo rom-coms, I think that you'll find this one rather enjoyable because it doesn't, you know, have all those tropes. It doesn't have the fan service and stuff that you expect from shonen rom-coms. This one was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's only 3 volumes, so it's not a commitment. The story focuses on a couple of twins. One of them finds herself in a situation, there's an incident that happens that sends her to the hospital, and she does not want to go back to school. So she sends her sister in her place. Her sister goes to school, acts as her, winds up talking to people at the school as her, including the guy that she has a crush on. So that's where all the drama begins. Good first volume. I really enjoyed this one, read through the whole thing of this one as well, and I'm anticipating reading the rest because, like I said, it's only 3 volumes, so why not continue? Now, Next up from 7 Seas GL line, we have Does It Count If You Lose Your Virginity to an Android? This one follows robotics manufacturer Akane, who orders a maid to help her clean her mess of an apartment. But when the maid arrives, she turns out to be more interested in servicing Akane rather than her apartment. Then from One Piece Books, we have I Hear the Sunspot 4 Seasons, Volume 1. This is the next installment of the I Hear the Sunspot series. I think this is like the 5th or 6th total volume. Kohei and Taichi met in a chance encounter that eventually blossomed into love, but now it's spring and Kohei is searching for a job as graduation looms near. While life is busier than ever, everything seems to be looking good for the couple until one of Kohei's old love interests, Aina, shows up. Then going back to Yen Press, we have Catch These Hands Volume 4. This is the final volume of this GL comedy series. And then we get to one of my most anticipated releases, and I just got this one today, and that is Dead Dead Demons Diddy Diddy Destruction Volume 12, the final volume of Inio Asano's series. I love Inio Asano. Goodnight Pun Pun is one of my favorite series, and this does not disappoint. It's a sci-fi title that is about an alien invasion in Japan, and it spends most of the time just focusing on how these teenage girls just go along with their everyday lives despite the fact that there are aliens looming above. But as the series progresses, they can't really ignore the aliens and things get a little wild, and I cannot wait to read the ending to this series. I absolutely love it. Next up from Viz, we have Love's in Sight. This is another shonen rom-com series. This one has 8 volumes in total, so again, not a very long title. So if you want to read a new shonen rom-com series and not have to devote that much shelf space or money to it, this might be one for you. This is another delinquent series, so I had to pick it up. Morio is a delinquent who falls in love with Yukiko at first sight, as the vision-impaired young girl can see him for his true self. Can Morio leave his delinquent ways behind for Yukiko? I'll make sure to read this one soon and talk about it. At the very least, I'm going to talk about all of these new things in my April haul video, so stay tuned for that when I put it out next month. The March haul video will come pretty soon, though. And finally, in the third week, we have Tatsuki Fujimoto Before Chainsaw Man 22 to 26. This is the second and final volume of this duology of short stories from the creator of Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch. If you're a fan of Tatsuki Fujimoto, you might want to pick these 2 volumes up. It has all of his early single, one-shot stories. Now he has longer, like, one-shots, like, Goodbye Eri, Look Back, and stuff like that that take up entire graphic novels, but before he had a lot of short ones. This one, of course, being from the later years, from when he was 22 to 26, so the style is going to have developed quite a bit from what you would have seen in the earlier stories. Anyway, the first one was really fun, just get a good idea, a glimpse into his creative genius, if you will, but anyone familiar with Fujimoto knows that he's pretty cracked. Anyway, moving into the 25th, the last Tuesday of the month, we start off from 7 Seas with My Girlfriend's Child. This one follows Sachi and Takara, who are a normal high school couple until one day Sachi takes a pregnancy test and sees that the result is positive. This is a high school drama series that tackles the realities of teen pregnancy. Next up, we have Demons of the Shadow Realm from Fullmetal Alchemist and Silver Spoon creator Hiromu Arakawa. This one is a new action-adventure title from her, so if you enjoy FMA, then this is one you'll probably want to check out. About a young man whose quiet village comes under attack, and he's taken away and forbidden to return home. The young man named Yuru soon discovers that his birthright was to control 2 statues that stand guard over the village, and soon also discovers a conspiracy tying him and his twin Asa to a world-threatening prophecy. Next up from Last Gasp, we have I Saw It, a survivor's true story of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. This is a 50-page little one-shot by the same creator as Barefoot Gen, so similar subject matter there. Last Gasp also did like the hardcover editions of Barefoot Gen, absolutely beautiful. This was published like over 30 years ago in English as a magazine style like single issue. I do have that one in my collection as well, but now it's getting re-released like 30 years later in graphic novel format, so if you don't have that old magazine, you can pick this one up. If you enjoy Barefoot Gen, this is something you'll probably want to add into your collection. Next, we get into a bunch of Ablaze books, starting off with Witch of Mine. This one is about an outcast boy and mysterious witch who will need to rely on each other to survive against fate and time. Then we get to The Breaker Volume 5, the final volume of the first Breaker series. these are 2-in-1 omnibus editions, by the way. They have announced, Blaze being they, that the second Breaker series, New Waves, will be coming out physically in English in the future. They haven't given a date as far as I could find, and there's no mention of the currently ongoing Breaker series getting English release, but I'm sure that once we finish the second series, we'll probably wind up getting that one as well. If you enjoy action, this is a great action manhwa. That the beginning is very, very similar to GTO, but then it does diverge. But if you're familiar with GTO, read the first volume of The Breaker, and it's like incredibly similar. It's pretty funny. Next up, we have The Restorer's Home. This one is about a high schooler who lives alone in a house that he inherited from his grandfather, where he uses his skill to restore antiques to their original condition, but he also has a supernatural skill to see souls tied to these objects. These souls often help him fix things or solve difficult matters. And again, these are books that I just got today, so I haven't read them, and I want to point that out again because I know that there's people who are going to be like, you don't even read these books, you got them and you're not even, like, I literally just got them like an hour before I started filming this. Anyway, next up we have Fight Class 3. This is another action manhwa. This one takes place in a world where Korea is one of the leading nations in martial arts, and as such, its government encourages high schools to set up martial arts classes to develop their students into talented martial artists. Most students dream of being selected as part of one of these classes, and Nam Il's Fight Class 3 is one of the most famous of them. Jite is short and weak, but looks to join Fight Class 3. Maria is a Brazilian student of Class 3 and notices that Jite has double-jointed body and the ability to read movements while fighting, making him ideal for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Next up from Viz, we have a highly anticipated one. This was one that a ton of people really wanted, and it was a big deal when it finally got licensed, and that is Boys Abyss, of course. This is coming from Viz Media's signature line. This dark mystery series follows Reiji, who lives a miserable life in an inescapable small town where the only interesting thing to have ever happened is a double suicide by the river. One day, pop idol Nagi shows up at a local convenience store and offers Reiji a way out of his current existence. Then finally, in this week, we have Turning Red, For Town, For Real. This is a single volume little spin-off from the Turning Red movie from Pixar that came out a year or two ago. In this book, we get to see how the boy band from Turning Red, For Town, spends their day leading up to the concert in Toronto. So fans of Turning Red might want to pick this one up. Then finally, on the 30th, we have one final release from Glacier Bay, Pandora, The Receding Sound of Footsteps. This comes from Hagiwara Rei, the creator of Ripples, and this volume features 5 short stories painted with beautiful watercolors during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021. This also reflects on the 10th anniversary of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. I'm very much anticipating this one. Glacier Bay has absolutely phenomenal releases, beautiful books. I'm very excited to check this one out when it comes out later this month. And with that, we've covered everything. Ton of great new releases coming out throughout April. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up the most, whether it's something that I covered here or not. I'm really curious to know what you all are looking forward to, so sound off down below in the comments. And of course, thank you so much for spending time with me and watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe so you can get notified for all the videos I put out pretty much every week. And if you haven't checked it out yet, I'm going to plug again my Junji Ito video that I put out last week. If you're a fan of Ito, it covers everything. It's very comprehensive, great video, if I do say so myself. And all that said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.